If you are a homeowner in a decent-sized city, there's a good chance, along with your mortgage, you're also paying some sort of homeowners association fee. Some estimates put the total number of HOAs in Idaho at more than 3,000, and they all take pride in their rules and regulations meant to keep the neighborhood nice and the property values on the upswing. Bylaws usually enforced by email or letter that can sometimes evolve into threats or imposition of fines. In some cases, the HOA could control what kind of sign, if any, you could put in your yard. An important distinction during this time of year, because a lot of us like to throw our support behind a candidate for elected office by poking plastic signs into our front lawns or flower beds. That was a no-no in a lot of neighborhoods. That is, until this summer. Election season, the time of year when campaign signs crop up like, well, cash crops, from public places to private property. And believe it or not, what you put on private property tends to be more prohibitive, thanks to homeowners associations. Like what happened to Lindsay Waller this week.
Your HOA seems pretty active.
They're extremely active. Yeah. And a lot of active neighbors walking by. So they see things and they know the CCNRs, I'm sure, as well. So they know when rules are being broken and are more than happy to pass that along to the forces that be.
Most HOAs have a lot of CCNRs, covenants, conditions, and restrictions that limit what you're allowed to do on your own lot. Things like no parking on the street for longer than a day, or that the grass, and we'll tell you what kind, needs to be well groomed. Even the type of trees to plant and where. In the Quail Ridge subdivision, like a lot of others, there's also a section about signs, saying unless it says for sale, forget about it.
That's why we were expecting an email so quickly.
Which is exactly what happened when Lindsay planted a few political signs in her front yard on Saturday.
And then how long did it take for them to send you a letter or phone call or something to say, you can't do that?
Less than 24 hours.
But the Wallers were ready.
My husband drafted up an email, sent it back and said, actually, we are aware of the CCNRs, but we're also aware of the Idaho statute that says HOAs can't enforce this.
Nope, they can't, because this past session, Idaho's legislature passed House Bill 503. It updated Title 55 to say no homeowners association may prohibit the display of a political sign. It was signed into law in March. By Monday, Lindsay's HOA admitted they were wrong and planned to adjust their rules accordingly. Lindsay knows HOAs can be restrictive, but she's glad that no longer applies to her speaking her mind through a political piece of plastic.
Such a huge victory for us. I know it's such a small win, but knowing how restrictive HOAs can be and to have this one thing that we were able to do and say, actually, we are in the right and we were prepared with the statute, we took it as a small victory.
A lot of people don't know about this law that passed this year.
We were one of those people months ago. And if I hadn't tweeted out and expressed my frustration that we weren't able to put yard signs up and then had a friend see that and say, actually, you are able to, we wouldn't have yard signs. So we would still be in that group.
So if you're one of those that are looking at a letter, an email from your HOA that you've received over the last week or so, maybe a couple weeks, you might respond with a link to Idaho Code 55115. Keep in mind, though, state law says no sign can be put up on private or public property without permission. As for how long those signs can stay up, well, that depends on the city. You want to keep it on your front lawn forever, I guess that's up to you. But those clusters you see on the street corners and empty lots, well, there's no state regulation for that. However, general rule is about 2 days. Some cities have statutes, though, that state there is a 10 or even 14-day after election time limit to take them down.